Hello viewers, welcome back to another video, and today we're back with another edition of Thomas's F1 chat. I'm going to be ranking my top 10 favourite corners from F1 history. Now, the way I've ranked this, we've got a top 10 as usual. I've got 4 honourable mentions, like I did with the tracks video and the cars video, but I'm going to be basing them off of a few things. 1, how fun they are to drive. 2, what kind of racing they sort of promote slash create. And then 3, just how cool they are in general. So I've got a pretty lengthy list to get through, and we're going to get straight into it. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you join the Discord server, link in my bio, and go follow me on TikTok as well, because every follow helps, and it really helps me out as we're trying to climb up to 500 subscribers. So yeah, let's get straight into the action. Get there, it's gonna be us. Yes! Woohoo! There we are, yes. Oh, I'm having another accident, I'm over. That is why, that's huge. So, we're gonna begin, where we always begin, with the number 10 spot, or the number 10 spot I should say, sorry, and a bit of an odd one, which I don't think many people expected to feature on this list, but I've gone for Turn 1 at Istanbul Park. Now, you're thinking, Thomas, what the hell are you doing putting this random-ass corner in 10th spot? Well, I've always been a big fan of Turn 1s, I always feel that Turn 1 is the most important corner on any track, on every track, it's the most important corner, so I had to include a Turn 1 on this list, and my favourite Turn 1 of all time is Turn 1 at Istanbul Park. Now, the reason for that is, well, the geographical feature, or the physical feature of the corner. It's a downhill braking zone, it's a fairly blind apex on the left-hand side, and then you get to sweep out to the curb, and you get to put and then you get to put the foot down and accelerate through turn 2. It sets up for turn 2 beautifully. It's great on first laps as it causes a whole lot of chaos, and it always has, always will, and it punishes mistakes because of the camberedness, I think that's the word, of the corner, causes a lot of spins, and has caused a lot of spins over the years. So for that reason, Istanbul Park Turn 1, being my favourite Turn 1 in F1 history, I had to include it on this list. But yeah, Istanbul Park Turn 1 at number 10. Okay, so moving into my number 9 spot. Now, those of you who are on the Discord would have known what is coming, but for number 9, I've gone for the final corner at Harama, which, when it was used in F1, was originally turn 12. In the modern day, it is now turn 16. But yeah, I've gone for the final corner at Harama. Now, the reason for this, Harama on its own is a pretty cool track. I did think about putting it in my top 10 tracks video, but this final corner is just awesome. It's downhill, it's a sweeping corner. Nowadays, in a modern F1 car, it would be flat, most definitely. But back then in the 70s and the 60s, when it was used, it definitely wouldn't have been flat. You would have had to have lifted, and it sets it up from the main straight perfectly. So it's a downhill, right-handed sweeper onto an enormous long straight down into turn 1. So it sets that up beautifully. But it took balls to take this corner quickly, and that's why I've included it. I was cycling through tracks, trying to get some ideas, and I got to Harama, and I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any good corners from Harama. Had a look at that final turn, jogged my memory, I'm like, this is definitely going in my list, because this corner is awesome. I couldn't find any specific clips of the corner itself, at least from the time period, but definitely, if you have the time, go and look up turn 16 or turn 12 at Harama, because you will not be disappointed. What a phenomenal, phenomenal corner. Okay, so, moving into my number 8 spot on this list, I've got a pretty popular corner. It's gone through quite a few iterations in its time on the F1 calendar, but I've gone for 130R at Suzuka, a very famous corner from F1 history. Now, the reason I've gone for this, well, 1, it's very popular, 2, it's very satisfying to drive, and 3, making an overtake especially around the outside at this corner, is like one of the best feelings in Formula One. So definitely a worthy of number 8 spot. I thought about putting it in my top 5. I couldn't quite bring myself to because there were other corners I wanted to include higher up, but it felt wrong to not have 130R on this list, so I put it on there. Because yeah, it felt wrong to not have it. But I mean, what a phenomenal corner! You know, it has been flat in basically every iteration of Formula One car since like in 1982. So it goes to show how brave you have to take it. And then getting a move around the outside. You know, we saw it with Alonso on Schumacher in 2005. You know, he lifted because he has a wife and kids. That's fucking aura. That is very cool. But yeah, I had to include it. So definitely worthy of number 8 spot. I think some people would put it higher up. I can't bring myself to do the same thing. Also, and I know I've mentioned this a lot in this video so far, it sets up the final chicane beautifully. You know, it's full confidence through the left-hander, and then where do you brake? Do you go late and you jam on the brakes as hard as you can? And it's got its fair share of pretty famous moments. So 130R at my number 8 spot. Okay, so now moving into my number 7 spot, I've gone with, well, a corner which isn't so popular, but it is part of a very popular track. I've gone with the Center S's at Brazil. Now, obviously, I've tried not to include chicanes on this list, because chicanes include, you know, 2 to 3 corners per chicane, but I couldn't not include the Center S. It is one of my favorite corners, but for the sake of this video, I have picked between turn 1 of the Center S and turn 2 of the Center S, and I've gone with turn 1 specifically, just because I just kind of prefer it a little bit more. Now, the reason I go with the Center S is the overtaking opportunities and the action it provides, plus the good moments it's had over, well, good/bad moments it's had over the years. We've seen plenty of crashes at turn 1 of the Center S's. You know, we had Magnussen and Albon 2023. We had Albon in 2024. We had Nico Hulkenberg in 2012, which did cost him a win that day, but it's pretty famous not to include. So we've had its fair share of crashes. We've also had famous moments. You know, we've had Button going past Hamilton into turn 1 and picking up the win in that same Brazil 2012 race. We've got Verstappen going past Hamilton into turn 1 in 2019. We've also had, you know, the Lando Norris think different moment from last year. So it's definitely no stranger to the odd famous moment. The other reason I've included it is because of the opportunities it presents itself with. You know, it's an in-cambered corner, braking zone. You can either go around the outside, which sets you up for the inside for turn 2, or you can take the inside line and either get a switch back into turn 2 or try and hang it around the outside, which then sets you up for the inside into turn 3. So it just provides with some awesome racing, does turn 1 at Brazil. So that's the reason I have included it. Also, it looks pretty cool. You know, the green and yellow curbing always makes it look nice. And it's just a good corner in every aspect. So, in at my number 7 spot, can't quite put it any higher, but definitely above some of the others on this list. But let's get into those others on this list. Well, jumping in to my number 6 spot, just ahead of the Center S's of Brazil, I've gone for a corner which is just surrounded by sort of fame and a lot of sort of intensity. I've gone with the Wall of Champions chicane at Canada. Now, obviously I said I try not to include chicanes, but I mean, it was very hard to separate the individual corners of this one, so I've had to go with the whole chicane. But the Wall of Champions chicane, what a brilliant corner, and my God, has it had its fair share of moments throughout history. Obviously, being called the Wall of Champions, you know, it's claimed 5 different world champions in its time, from Damon Hill, Michael Schumacher, Jacques Villeneuve, Jenson Button, and Sebastian Vettel. So the challenge is very much there, and that is why I have gone for the Wall of Champions, because of the challenge that surrounds it.
if you can throw your car in through the right left and get away with it, you look like an absolute hero. But if you get it wrong, and I mean, if you get it wrong even by a millimeter, because that is how fine the margin is in the Wall of Champions, it's zero. So it's hero or zero stuff. Absolute balls to the wall corner. And that's why I've got it in my number 6 slot, because I absolutely adore it. What an awesome chicane. Obviously, Canada is one of my favourite tracks. I think you guys do know this. But not having the Wall of Champions on this list felt like a bit of a crime. And that is why. Just, like, it's maximum attack. If you get it right, you look like a hero. If you get it wrong, it's zero. And that's why I love it so much. So, definitely worthy of 6th spot on my list. Okay, so, making our way into the top 5 now on this list. In 5th spot, I've gone for Radeon, and specifically Radeon. Not Eau Rouge and Radeon, just Radeon. Now, the reason I've gone for this, well, it's a pretty good corner. I know that sounds like a lame reason to have it in, but I couldn't do a top 10 corners without including including Radeon on it. You know, it's very famous. I had it in over Eau Rouge because I think Radeon provides more of a challenge than Eau Rouge does. Obviously, Eau Rouge sets up for the run up the top of the hill and over the crest where Radeon is, but it just doesn't quite compare to Radeon itself for me. Obviously, no, it's a blind crest. You don't see what's coming. It's full attack. It is a massive challenge for the drivers. It strains on the neck and does all that kind of stuff. It's everything really. That was a bad voice crack. It's everything really you want, you need, and you can ask from a Formula 1 corner, really. But there are a few of my personal faves which I've had to put above Radeon. But there is a reason for it being so good. Obviously, it's also had its fair share of dramatic moments over the years. Kevin Magnussen in 2016 having a big moment there, spinning around, hitting the wall, coming over the crest. So, it's pretty good corner. It's had its fair share of moments. It's obviously had its fair share of dark moments as well, obviously with Anton Hubert tragically losing his life at Radeon. Tragically. But I think, putting that aside, I don't see how you couldn't have Radeon on a top 10 corners list. But yeah, great corner, great action, maximum attack and maximum bravery, so you couldn't not have it. Okay, so diving into my 4th place spot, really getting into the high point on this list, I have gone for an unexpected one. Maybe some of you wouldn't expect this. I've gone for Aqua Minerale at Imola. For those of you who don't know which Aqua Minerale is, it is the double right-hander as you come off of turn 9 at Imola. So you go up the hill past the Tosa hairpin, through the left-hander at the top of the hill, you drop down, and then it's a quick downshift, and through the double right-hand corner, and that is Aqua Minerale. And I've specifically gone for the first right-hander, as it's hard on the brakes, you've got to swing out to the outside curve, and then even harder on the brakes as you downshift, and then turning it in for the second one. It's easily one of my favourite corners in F1 currently, and F1 of all time, purely because of, well, once again, sort of like the same reason as the Wall of Champions, the confidence you have to have on the way in, because if you're not confident enough, you can lose up to like a second, 1.5 seconds, and if you're too confident, you're going to throw it over that curb, bottom out, and then you're just going to slide straight off into the gravel trap, and then sometimes even into the wall. And additionally, in the wet, it becomes like the challenge is just tripled. So easily in my top 4. Also, the name is pretty cool. I like the way it rolls off the tongue. Aqua Minerale, very, very nice. So for that reason, Aqua Minerale in my number 4 spot. Okay, so getting into the podium places now. My top 3 favourite corners in F1 of all time. Number 3 spot, I've gone for a corner with a lot of famous moments over the years, and a very brave one at that. I've gone for Cops Corner, and what better video to have behind me than obviously Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton in 2021 having that very famous crash. I've included this corner because for me, it is probably the most satisfying corner to get right. Obviously, you know, if you're brave enough, you can turn in flat in 8th gear and just easily through. As you can see, Max Verstappen going off behind me. A big reason to have this so far up my list. But yeah, like in a modern F1 car, normally it's flat in 8th gear. You know, you plant the throttle, you turn in, you can grab the curb on the inside and then swing out to the curb on the left-hand side. When you go side by side through there, when you get it right, it's very, very exciting having two cars side by side through such a fast corner. And also the other reason I've included this corner, is purely because of the speed. Like in this day and age of Formula One, you're looking at a corner with an angle of about 87 degrees or so at the apex. So it's essentially like a right. It's essentially like a 90-degree right-hander, but you take it at nearly 322 kilometers an hour, which is blisteringly fast for a corner of that nature. So for that reason, it goes in at my number 3 spot. Lots of famous moments. Has a lot of different configurations over the years, but largely, I mean, like if you go back and look at pit if you go back and look at pit pictures of cops from the 50s, 60s, 70s, etc., it does look essentially the same. The only thing which really changed or has changed over the years is the runoff area and the addition of curbs. But essentially, the corner has remained the exact same, which is pretty impressive considering the Silverstone circuit itself has changed a hell of a lot of times over its history. But yeah, Cops Corner, fast, fun, exhilarating, historic, goes in at my number 3 spot. Well, at my number 2 spot, this is going to be a controversial one. Obviously, Monaco, one of my favourite tracks, well, my favourite track of all time, so I had to include the most famous corner from Monaco on this list, which is the Lowe's Fairmont Hotel Monaco, whatever you want to call it, hairpin, which I believe, off the top of my head, is turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn 6 at the Monaco circuit. I had to count that then because I kind of blanked on it. But yeah, the Monaco hairpin goes at my number 2 spot. The reason I've got it here, very famous corner. Like any F1 fan would recognise it in the blink of an eye. It's a tough challenge to get an F1 car rotated through such a tight corner. It has the record for the slowest corner on the calendar, which is an interesting record, but quite a funny one. And it's all round just one of the most, like, it's one of the most popular, most famous, most recognisable corners on the F1 calendar, so I had to include it on here. And it is my favourite corner on the Monaco circuit. So, Monaco hairpin goes at number 2. I don't have much to say about the Monaco hairpin. Just a good challenge, tight. If you pull off a move there, you look amazing. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen from time to time. So, I've got the Monaco hairpin at number 2. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys call the Monaco hairpin? Because I call it the Lowe's hairpin. That's what I've always called it anyway. But let me know what you guys call it. Okay, so, before we get into our number 1 spot, I've compiled a list of honourable mentions, which I've got on my phone right here, because I couldn't remember them all, but we're going to get into them right now. First of all, we've got Turn 3 at the A1 ring, or the Red Bull ring, whatever you want to call it. I've included this because it is probably one of the best overtaking spots I reckon we've ever had in Formula 1. And it always creates some good action. You know, Verstappen and Leclerc in 2019, plenty of other moments. You had, what was it, Frentzen collecting 2 Saubers or 1 Sauber in 1999. So it's had its fair share of moments. And of course, Coulthard spinning Hakkinen in 1998 or 1999. So it's had its fair share of moments, and it always provides a good amount of overtaking opportunities, and also sets up nicely for the next corner, which is turn 4. Other honourable mention I've got Jinsao. For those of you who don't know which corner Jinsao is, it is the final, it's the final braking zone corner at the Interlagos circuit. So obviously, you know, is that Glock going slowly moment is the Jinsao corner. I've included it. it's a nice end to a pretty awesome lap. But it didn't quite make my top 10, but it has had its fair share of popular moments, obviously, is that Glock being one of them. So I've got that in an honourable mention. Thirdly, I've got Degner 1 at Suzuka, which is the right-hander after the Dunlop curve. So you go through the S's, left-hander through Dunlop curve, and then it's a short downshift and a dab of the brakes into the Degner 1 corner. Got that one in for similar reasons to, you know, the Wall of Champions, Aqua Minerale. It takes bravery to take Degner 1 quickly, but I couldn't quite bring it into my top 10. And then finally, my final honourable mention I have on this list is the Schumacher S's, specifically the first Schumacher S, at the Nürburgring Grand Prix layout, which is, for those of you who don't know, you drop down the hill into the wide hairpin. On the exit, you run up the hill, and then it's that quick left-right, which is flat. That is the Schumacher S. They've had some fairly famous moments over the years. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is Hamilton's big crash in 2007. But it's a bravery corner, it's a fast corner, it's a fun corner, so that's why I've included it in my honourable mentions. Well, finally, we have reached the #1 spot on this list. My favourite corner in Formula 1 history is, of course, Blanchimont at Spa. What a phenomenal corner. In any car, really. This corner is just amazing, but especially in an F1 car. For those of you who don't know, most of you would know which corner I am referring to, but if you don't, it is the final flat left-hander before the bus stop chicane at Spa. And I've sort of included this, well, I like this corner for similar reasons to 130R. It's flat, it's fast. If you get an overtake around here, especially around the outside, it is super satisfying, but there is no margin for error. If you somehow get Blanchimont wrong, you are going off the wall in a major way, and that is why I love it, because it is the definition, especially when overtaking, Blanchimont is the definition of high risk, high reward, and that is why I love the corner so much. Throughout its history, similar to Cops, it hasn't changed too much over the years. It's had some minor reprofilings, but nothing major. But honestly, yeah, Blanchimont, easily my favourite corner in F1 history. We've seen, you know, countless overtakes around the outside, like Verstappen on Felipe Nasr in 2015. We've also seen our fair share of big accidents, such as Eric Comas in 1992. But just a phenomenal corner in every aspect, and that is why I've got it at my #1 spot. Well, there we have it, everybody. That concludes another video, another top 10, and yeah, another video here on LazGamez. So hopefully you all enjoyed. Just remember, if you are enjoying the content, go follow me on TikTok, go join the Discord link. A quick note, for next week's F1 race review, please feel free to send me questions, things I can answer, because it gives me things to talk about during the video. So make sure you go and do that, because that would help me out a lot. Make sure you leave a comment on the video, maybe give me a list of your favourite tracks, or critique me on what I should have included, because every comment counts. And like I said, currently our goal, we are on our way to 500 subscribers, so if we hit that, that would mean the absolute world to me. But there we have it, guys. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Stay safe, have an awesome day, and I'm going to see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.